Absolutely, you have to fireboard those mother jammers.
Hi everyone, welcome to Priority Holder, and today we'll be playing red-green aggro in the Timeless format. So the card that caught my eye this time is Burning-Tree Emissary. 2-mana 2/2 when it enters adds red-green mana, so it allows for some pretty explosive starts. You can like play a Burning Tree, maybe another Burning Tree, and then like a creature afterwards, so you can really like flood the board quickly. And so I built the whole deck sort of around Burning-Tree Emissary, trying to be able to effectively use its mana and have the cards be able to like stand on their own merit as well. So everything I'm trying to do is like have creatures with the high stats in trample and or haste. And so that's the sort of mentality, is everything can have trample or haste or get you some sort of value like Ragavan does. So, but that's the idea, is to pack a bunch of stats in like as little mana as possible and be able to have some crazy starts thanks to Burning Tree and a little bit of reach with Bonecrusher Burn, Lightning Bolt, and like Monstrous Rage pushing through some damage. So let's get some people dead. So this is a reasonable hand. Would love if the second source is untapped, but that's the price you pay for like putting Surveils in your deck, you know. So we fortunately have a low curve, so we can work around it, but not quite as ideal, but still worth a keep. Going to lock in the other green source right here. Play Kumano. Actually, it'd probably be better to get the red-white shock just to be prepared for like Wild Nacatls in the future. So that was a slight misplay by me. Alright, turn 1 Dragon's Rage Channeler from the opponent, and then the Mishra's Bauble. Already halfway to Delirium. Interesting to see them bin a Bolt right there, because you'd think they want to keep it in this matchup where we're like obviously an aggro deck. So, but let's see what the opponent saw. Alright, so they saw our Lightning Bolt. And I think if I had an untapped source, I'd slam a creature here and bolt the Channeler later. But considering it's a tap land, I'm just going to get rid of it now. It just provides so much value for the opponent with like their Surveils. And seeing Robber the Rich on top of our deck, I'm going to keep it because the opponent's in red-black. We've already seen Bolt. Like, they have tons of removal potentially. So it seems like we want to keep every threat we can muster. Alright, so they have their own turn 2 Surveil land. They keep it on top. And alright, so they're going to reanimate the Dragon's Rage Channeler. So you could see how important it is to their game plan. Like, they're willing to like get it back in play. Not to mention they're really close to Delirium. That being said, I think I'm just going to go aggro right now. Just play Robber and attack for 4 hasty damage. Okay, so we see an Underworld Breach off the top of their deck. So that really helps us figure out what the opponent's doing. So they're actually not really an aggro or mid-range deck. They're a combo deck. Now this is absolutely devastating right here. Just a huge blowout with the Pitchcast Fury taking down both of our creatures and providing that last bit of Delirium for Channeler. So that was like a massive turn from them. Thankfully they didn't have like a follow-up. But now we sort of know that they're more of a combo deck. And there's different ways you can build these breach decks. This one seems to be way more mid-rangey. Like, a lot of the breach decks definitely aren't playing like Furies and stuff like that. So they want to be able to, this person wants to be able to have more of a mid-range battle, looks like. So here's a Demonic Tutor, and I already know they're grabbing Reanimate. Like, just, alright, so there's a Stitcher Supplier in the bin, so you have to keep track of that. It's one of the pieces of the combo. And let's wait to, yeah, they're checking our graveyard for due diligence, but obviously like Reanimating Fury right here is just backbreaking. So that's 2 turns in a row of getting Furied, which you don't love to see against you. You love it when you're the one doing it. In fact, I'll link like a Fury deck right here. I love that card, play it a lot. And so that was a gift. So we drew a Lightning Bolt. We don't have that many answers for Fury, but we got lucky right here and grabbed one. So I was about to just play Robber and attack and see what he pulled off the top of their deck. Problem is, we had to have fewer cards in hand than them. Right now we're equal, so I'm like, okay, well I just gotta bolt the Fury right now. Then like, if there was that card imbalance, then you can attack and attempt to pull like a Bolt or something like off their deck to kill it, you know. But it has, for Robber, it has to be that card imbalance. Now, interesting, we just ripped a Fury off the top of their deck, and so we could pitch cast it right here by getting rid of our Monstrous Rage. And you could see me, I could sit it for a long time because Channeler is just that potent, and I'm like about to do it here. But the thing is, like, that's like our last card, and like it can help push a decent amount of damage through. And so I ultimately decide against it, but it is like a real tough call, like, because the thing is, Channeler can really help with like their combo if they decide to go for that. Not to mention, like, it's just actively killing us. Alright, so there's a Dark Ritual in the bin, so an Underworld Breach right now might just mean game. So opponent knocks us to 6. They do seem a little flooded, and we draw a Yavimaya Iconoclast. Not a card you see a whole lot, but like, I like it as a 4-3 haste, or just like a cheap 3-2 trample, so I'm just gonna kick it right now and attempt just to go for lethal. And we'll see if the opponent has like an answer, and they don't, so we're right into the next game. Wow, that felt really close, but it was awesome to sneak away with that one. So right here, we're gonna crack, and I wonder if I'm a little more vigilant here and grab the red-white land to set up for Wild Nacatls. Nope. Okay, we do have way more green source. Like, we have no use of the white mana, but I think it would have been better to grab the. So the opponent surgicals our fetch in response. So that seems like a questionable play to me, because that play would have been open to them later on, and I guess they're trying to steal a fetch. But anyway, as we get our hand ripped apart, if you like seeing aggro decks smash, please faint the like button. So yeah, I don't know if they thought they could snipe a fetch out of our hand and like mana screw us. That was why. So alright, so we're just gonna crash in with Robert. It picks up the counter from Kumano. The opponent's taking a card from our hand with Inquisition. Let's see what else the opponent does. And when I recorded this is like recently after a rank reset, so that's why everyone's in low ranks right now. So alright, so the opponent's just gonna Fatal Push the Robber. There's a Ragavan. The question is, do we dash Ragavan or do we just hard cast an Iconoclast? I decided to dash Ragavan because the treasure is pretty valuable, and it seemed like things are open. Alright, so there's a Fatal Push, and I decided, you know, it could just slam Kumano off the treasure mana and just get that rolling. That's gonna just really keep the pressure on the opponent and just make good use of that mana that we have. So let's see. And we're glad we stole that Fatal Push off the top, because now the opponent doesn't have access to it. Alright, so here comes Liliana of the Veil. And I like playing Liliana of the Veil decks. I'll link one here if you're interested. And so it's important to realize that we actually have lethal right here. So Kumano is going to give a counter on whatever creature we cast. And so if we dash Ragavan, it's going to be a 3-power attacker. And assuming it gets in, like, it doesn't seem like black can really do anything to stop it right here. We're going to get a treasure off the Ragavan hit, which can then cast our Lightning Bolt. So this is why, you know, it's super fun playing aggro decks, because you can just get people dead super quick, and, you know, if they stumble or if they have like painful mana base, like, you just get them. So we're already in the next game, and this hand is awesome. Maybe our best hand so far. Just like a nice mix of stuff. So I like leading with the turn 1 Kumano just to like get the 1/1 counter ready on like the mode 2. So alright, blue-black shock, and the opponent's thinking about something. Alright, so the pitch casting Grief looked like it was a Bowmasters they pitched into it, so we'll have to see if they have the scam here as they examine our hand. So I'm going to take Bonecrusher. That lines up really well against Grief, so do they have a Reanimate is the question. They didn't have the like Undying effect. Yep, there's the Reanimate. Okay. So presumably Bolt's getting taken here to protect the Grief. Okay, no, so they took the Iconoclast. We drew another Bolt. So seems like we want to Bolt the Grief and then just cast a Ragavan. So going to grab the green source and yeah, just pass with the 3/2 Ragavan. So we're really hoping they don't have an answer for it. Alright, so the opponent's going to consider. So the opponent's on some sort of blue-black mid-range deck. They're cracking another fetch. I mean, the thing about Reanimate, it's strong, but it's very painful, and their mana base is a little bit painful. Alright, so another consider. It's they're ditching the Reanimate. I mean, yeah, they're like really under the gun right now for our attacks. This is just the power of Kumano. Like, it can really shell out the damage. you know, it gives you 1 upon entry, potentially 1 or more off the 1/1 counter, and then it flips into a haster right away. So it really gets things moving. And we have the treasure, so there's no need to just cast the bolt right now. But we're in like a really strong spot. Like, the opponent would have needed like a Toxic Deluge or something, but even then that would have been like pretty risky. So the opponent, yeah, and the opponent just packs it in, so they didn't really have much going on. So we're on to the next game. Feeling pretty good. So there's the white source that I think I was being a little sloppy earlier. I should have been more careful with the fetches to like secure the white source for Wild Nacatls, but here going to play that and then grab a red source here. So I guess we could just grab basic mountain since we have a forest in hand. Yeah, I think the Stomping Ground was unnecessary there. I could have grabbed just basic mountain because like we have a surplus of green sources, not that many green cards. So, all right, Green Sun's Twilight from the opponent. As that's the other nice thing about Robber is it gives you information. Like, it helped inform my decisions against the Breach deck earlier. So, here's Kami of Bamboo Groves playing a land. So seeing Field Dead, like this is presumably a Titan deck right here. Now, even though like Kami is just sort of like a whatever creature, just a 1/1, I am going to bolt it right here because so we need to make sure we have enough red sources to play a creature and bolt. So have to shock that in. Going to bolt it here because of natural order. So like that's like a turn 4 play the opponent could have, sacrifice the creature to get a Titan into play. So not to mention the bolt clears the way for the attacker. So there's 2 reasons to bolt that creature there. Natural order and just clearing blockers. So we have the opponent down to 10 already. So there's a Nykthos. So they must be a sort of different style of a Titan deck. So Fierce Empath, we already know what it's going to grab. It's going to grab Prime Time. So it's always worth thinking through the plays right here. So the opponent has 1 blocker, and I'm realizing right here, like the opponent's at 10. So if we kick Iconoclast, the opponent is actually dead right here, because Voltaic Brawler attacks, pays an energy attacks as a 4/3 trampler. So the best the opponent can do right here is block Nacatl, which leaves exactly 10 points of damage unblocked right here. And we see a Spelunking off the top. So love the sort of devotion-y Titan deck, but yeah, we don't give them a chance to really unpack their game plan. We move on to the next one. This hand is pretty good. Would love some more creature. Okay, so Dark Ritual from the opponent could get really bad really quickly. Ashiok Dreamlander. Not super scary. Fortunately for us, we have more than just fetches because Ashiok shuts down library searching. And so that could have, so that is potentially a very strong play. If the opponent has all fetches, like they're just toast with an Ashiok in play. Now Kumano is nice because it's going to ding another point of loyalty off the Ashiok. And usually when you see Ashiok, it's in devotion strategies because it hates on fetches and like provides devotion, and like it's anti-graveyard also. So it does sort of some potentially good things, but it's not going to be very strong in this matchup. So once again, having to be very careful about what lands we use. So we don't have a green source right now. At least we have a tapped one. It would be too slow. Gonna play Kumano and just get that going. Wondering if there's like a Bowmasters being held right now. So we're gonna play Commercial District, and it seems like we want to keep all the threats we can, once again against a black deck with like Fatal Push and March of Wretched Souls. So there's the Bowmasters. We'll see if Nykthos is in our future. Alright, so there's the Nykthos. So it's not mana positive yet, but we have to be very careful about that because Grey Merchant is like public enemy number 1. Like it'll wreck us if they can even like land one meaningful Grey Merchant. So 2 different Kumano Saga triggers going off, so we have to keep track of that. So we're going to get a 2/2 haste and the 1/1 counter mode. And so Ashiok's at 1, so we already know we can kill it because we have another Kumano in hand. So what I'm going to try and get them to do is like throw their Orcish Bowmasters under the bus. And so what I'm going to do is just attack the Ashiok with Kumano to see if we can like force, you know, prompt them to block. And they are, because they really want to keep the devotion count high. So we did get them to successfully like chump block with the Bowmasters, and now we can just slam Kumano and kill the Ashiok anyway. It's really important to keep their devotion down, because now you can see their Nykthos is like useless. And we could still slam a Voltaic Brawler, which is going to pick up a counter and be like a really potent threat. It's going to attack as a 5/4 Trampler next turn. So we've at least postponed Grey Merchant, barring like a Dark Ritual. Okay, love to see that, like Legend ruling a Nykthos just to play something. Okay, so 1 ring. Don't really love to see that because that's exceptionally strong. Gives them 1 turn grace from our attacks. Alright, so once again we have chapters 2 and 3 of Kumanos going off. Just been chaining Kumanos this whole game. Building up our army. Hoping they don't have like a Meat Hook Massacre or Toxic Deluge or something, because we're just going to like go, because we still have a lot of damage to deal them. So I'm just going to flood the board as much as I can. So it seems like just Voltaic Brawler plus Ragavan plus Fetch Land is the way to go. But yeah, let me know in the comments, like, what are your favorite aggressive cards in red and or green to play? One of my favorites is Bonecrusher Giant. It's just an awesome card that even picked up more relevance once the 1 ring came out. So, alright, so I actually, you know, because Ragavan can be dashed aside, you know, that's not like, if they do have the Wrath, that's how we would lose, is like really overextending. So I'm going to hold on to Ragavan because it can be sort of safe from like sorcery speed removal. So, alright, the opponent's activating the ring, desperately fishing for something. We're hoping not to see March or Wretched Sorrow. Alright, so the opponent is just getting severely mana screwed over there. Like, multiple cards drawn off the ring, and they still can't find a land. So, but that means they must have like a ton of action up there, or I don't know if they have like all Grey Merchants in hand. Like, I don't know what's going on, but we have an exceptionally strong hand right here with Monstrous Rage. Not going to dash the Ragavan because it's like an easy block with the Orc army. So I guess we could have Bonecrushered it, but I just wanted to keep the mana up. But the opponent just takes the damage. It must have had just a pretty non-functional hand, because that's just 16 and lethal right there. So moving on to the next game. Now, one thing in my recent videos I try to do, like, if I happen to build a deck and if I'm on like a huge win streak like I'm on right now, I decide, you know, I'm just going to keep playing until I lose, because I think it's valuable to see how a deck loses, or the situations you can put yourself in to lose a game is as valuable as, maybe more valuable than seeing the deck win. So you need to know the fail cases. So that's like a policy I've been trying to do lately. So we're still winning, so that means we're going to keep playing. Going to definitely Bonecrusher down the Channeler and attack it with Ragavan. And just when you get that first Ragavan hit, man, that feels so good. Like, feels exceptionally strong, especially if you steal something really good from them. Alright, so we're playing against Jund, and they're going to Inquisition us. Now, we have like basically all identical cards in hand, so like we don't really care that much. Especially 2 of them are like actually identical. But yeah, I'll go ahead and link a Jund deck right here that I've played before, if you're interested in some Jund content. Alright, so they do have the Fatal Push, so Ragavan bites the dust right here. Okay, so we have some options here. We could play like just a Bonecrusher straight up. We could play Bonecrusher plus Nacatl. We could play we could play Voltaic Brawler plus Iconoclast. There's like a lot of permutations, or we could play like one of the 2 drops, one of the 1 drops, keep the treasure up. I'm trying to decide like maximal damage against the opponent. The opponent's already at 13. They have a very painful mana base. I'm going to get the white source here to power up Nacatl. Going to play Nacatl as a 3/3, and was thinking about just playing like a Brawler or something, but then like we could just slam. I decided just to slam Bonecrusher, because if they get rid of it, it's going to ding them for 2 damage. Might as well use the treasure, and we could haste out an Iconoclast if we need it. So just going to put as many stats as possible on the board. Alright, so here's Malevolent Rumble. And already could see it's not your typical mid-range deck list. This appears to be another Breach deck, seeing the Stitcher Supplier and then the Faithless Looting. So this one appears to be more all-in on the Breach combo than the other one does, like Faithless Looting and Breach, whereas the other one was running stuff like Fury and Reanimate. So there's different versions of the Breach deck out there, but it is a dangerous deck because they can win out of nowhere. So I'm trying to figure out what to do. So checking out like the progress towards the Breach combo with like stuff in the graveyard, it's, you know, they're always just basically a Dark Ritual away from like going off and a Breach. We have 7 points right now, none of it trample, and I decided not to haste anything out and just to attack. Like I said, I'm trying to amass stats, and they're not going to really have like massive. Okay, so they're really prioritizing the mana from the Eldrazi spawn. So the opponent's at 6. So what I'm going to try and do here is leave them basically with just this next turn as their last turn. So, and I think that was a misplay. I think oh no, I did. Okay, never mind. I needed the extra green source to get both creatures in play. So had to shock right there. I'm just gonna play both of them and just have as many threats as possible out. So now we have just a massive amount of power and toughness on the board. So they got to either like go with the Breach combo or like play a ton of creatures and or removal. So alright, so there's the Underworld Breach. I'm feeling pretty safe because they just have so little mana right now. Like they could play like a Stitcher Supply, but they don't have like the Dark Ritual yet. Alright, so they're just gonna Fatal Push. So they're just playing out their cards, clearing some quests because they don't have enough to stop us, and yeah, they pack it in. So we keep winning, we keep playing. Reasonable hand right here, a little bit light in interaction. But we've seen infinite Dragon's Rage channelers this set of games, so another channeler plus a Mishra's Bauble opener. There's a reason though, it's a super strong card. Alright, land number 4, not super excited about. Just going to bolt the channeler. They're already halfway to Delirium, and once again, have a healthy respect for Dragon's Rage channeler. Alright, there's a Bauble from the opponent. They're going to see what else we have. And let's see. Opponent has options. They're thinking through. Alright, so they just pass to us. Alright, Bolt is nice. So what do we do? Decide, you know, it's probably okay to play Nacatl and Ragavan. Just to have two, like, pretty decent threats out. And just make the opponent have to have something. Alright, Searing Blood is pretty devastating because not only going to kill it, they're going to burn us for 3. And so it becomes very clear now it's Searing Blood that we're playing against a burn deck. So here's a Swift Spear and a Bolt to take down Nacatl. So, feeling way, way worse at the start of turn 3 than we did at the end of turn 2. Felt really good, but we lost a ton of life and lost both of our creatures. And the opponent still presumably has a bunch of action in hand because they missed a land drop last turn. So, not loving that, but Burning Tree is going to be pretty nice to help us like just chain a bunch of spells right here. Getting the least painful land I can off that fetch, while still being able to cast everything. So going to play Voltaic Brawler, and we have a mana left over for Lightning Bolt. So we're at 10 life. We've got 2 creatures into play, so we will need to have some action though. Alright, Bolt Wave, not great for us. Skewer the Critics, okay, so, and another land is not ideal. So we have to attempt to try and kill them, but we have a long way to go, and they only have 4 more points of damage to stop us. Hasty creatures can do it, burn spells, and the opponent just seems to have halted on 2 lands and drawn all action, so it's looking pretty grim for us. And there's the Boros Charm just to finish us off. So there's the loss with this deck. We can lose to burn. But you know what? I didn't want to end on that note. I'm like, you know what? Let's fire up one more game and see what happens. So we're playing another game. Alright, so I'm going to lead with Kumano, and could have potentially a pretty strong turn with like Burning-Tree Emissary, especially if we get like a robber or something like that to play off it. Alright, Faithless Looting from the opponent. Alright, there's Flage and Brainstorm. Looks like some sort of Jeskai mid-range deck, possibly with like Tameo to flip off Faithless Lootings and Brainstorms. So, going to shock that in, play Burning Tree. Now here's the question, do you just slam a Kumano off it? Because that was my first instinct, but then like, well, I guess I could fully use the mana and just Bonecrusher their face. But the Kumano does need time and play to like be useful. I decided just to use the most mana I can. Given the cards the opponents play, it doesn't seem like they'll be playing any small creatures, so I felt pretty decent doing that. Happy to see that shocked in. Opponent's at 15. Alright, so we have 5 power creatures, opponent's at 15. We're just going to attack and sort of see what happens. Still don't know a whole lot about what the opponent's doing. Alright, so this card is Ribald Shanty. It's one of the starting intensity cards. And so basically it's almost like accumulated knowledge, but like they share the sort of like intensity. So the intensities from one card can build up the next one, can build up the next one. And so here's another one that is now more powerful for the other one having been cast already. Now, this is a huge blow up because we're going to be able to save it with the Monstrous Rage thanks to the Monstrous Roll, and crash in for extra damage, and get Kumano into play. So already the opponent is at 8 life, and they didn't get to kill our creature. So that was really fortunate for us that we had the pump spell. Like they're honestly not that common at times, so I don't blame the opponent for just going for it there. So the opponent's passing at 8 life, and we're going to grab the commercial district, make sure we have some action coming up. Yeah, definitely going to get rid of that land. This is why the Surveil lands are worth it. Lightning Bolt. Love to see it. Oh yeah, sorry. No, the Kumano doesn't flip right now. So, okay. So we're going to crash in with Burning Tree for sure. See if the opponent has an answer. Alright, so they're just going to take the damage. Alright, so they fall to 4. And going to just play Bonecrusher. It's going to pick up the counter, and barring a Wrath, it could be really difficult for the opponent to deal with. They could have like a Leyline Binding or something that deals with it cleanly. Alright, so there's another starting intensity card that's going to draw them a ton of stuff, so they're probably hoping to find some action right here. Now, you could see the opponent just sitting at 4 life with a fetch in play, and so I'm just waiting for the window of opportunity when their shields are down. And you know, they're going to have to try and do it just to execute their game plan. So with their fetch crack on the stack, we're going to fetch in response, steal that priority, and just bolt them in response and win the game. Feels pretty good. Well, that was just an awesome string of wins. This deck felt pretty dang powerful and really had fun playing it. There are some small things that might change. So right now I'm running 22 lands. I think that might be too much. I'd recommend cutting like 2 Stomping Grounds, maybe adding like 2 more Monstrous Rages or something like that, just so we're not as prone to flooding. But the thing about Monstrous Rage is it's somewhat situational and like prone to blowout for removal, and I was considering replacing them with Embercleaves. Embercleave is just like a devastating card. It could potentially end games like a whole turn faster, but like, to really deny the opponents a turn. The problem is that the removal in Timeless is like exceptionally strong. We got Solitude, Swords to Plowshares, Fatal Push. Basically all the best removal in the game is in Timeless. So Embercleave might be a bit of an ask, but I don't know. I'm curious about how strong it might be. Another thing is, in those games we didn't really run into Show and Tell, but this card is a lot of times included in aggro decks as like a hedge against Show and Tell, because you can put it in off a Show and Tell and then like possibly block the Omniscience win. So one thing to consider is running that. Other thing I was thinking about is Atarka's Command. This could be something like if you cut a couple lands, you could put some Atarka's Commands in. I have not tried it myself that much, but it seems like potentially super strong by like, you know, dealing 3 damage, giving +1/+1 to the team, like could potentially like swing games pretty well. This is one of the, like, you know, let me know if I'm like missing any like obvious includes in the creature, but this is one I was thinking about. It just doesn't seem like it does enough. Screaming Nemesis I could see possibly being good enough, but once again the removal's so strong that like getting the swords, you know, when you cast it feels horrible. So Domri is another thing I was considering, but wanted to keep the creature density high. But yeah, that's the deck. Thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you want to see even more nonsense, please consider subscribing. And if you're already subscribed, thank you for your support. Your engagement with the channel helps me know what the people want. Thank you.